Live. All right, good afternoon and welcome to today's Mavs Edge Internship Spotlight panel. I'm Julie Moye, Internship Coordinator with UTA's Career Development Center. I assist employers with internship program development and direct our Mavs Edge internship program. Thank you for joining us on this afternoon. We're very excited to welcome Universal Engineering Sciences, also known as UES, to today's Edge Spotlight. We'll meet our panelists in just a moment. But first, students, you may begin sending questions at any time using the question and answer feature. We'll address your questions near the end of the presentation, and our Assistant Director of Internships, David Powers, will be monitoring your questions. So let's get started by meeting our guests, Lisa Garza and Jeromi Kelsey. Lisa, would you like to start with introductions?
Sure. Happy to. So I'm Lisa Garza. Thanks, Julie. I appreciate that. I am a talent acquisition business partner with UES. Happy to be here.
All right, thank you, Lisa and Jeromi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jeromi Kelsey. I'm the department engineer for our construction materials testing department here in Fort Worth. And I'm also a graduate from UTA.
Ah, fantastic. Thank you.
Me too.
All right, two alums. I should have known that about you, Lisa, because we've spoken about that before. So, well, glad to have you here today. Before we get started, though, with our questions, I wanted to go ahead and turn the session over to Lisa and Jeromi for an overview of UES and its internship programs and job opportunities. So take it away.
Thanks, Julie. I'm going to attempt here to share my screen. So,
and I guess I need to stop sharing.
Oh, yep.
Make it easier.
All right. Yes. Let me see if I can make this happen here. Can you all see it?
Yes.
I do.
Yay, it's working. Technology.
Great
so we are just so happy to be here today. And so I know Julie, had us introduce ourselves already, but here we are again. And so I did forget to say that I am a UTA alum, a proud Maverick myself. So I got my graduate degree from UT Arlington many years ago, and from the School of Social Work. So I have a master's in social work from UTA. I've been with UES for just a short time. So I started with the company the end of October in the talent acquisition business partner position, and it's a new position. So we added a recruiter to our team because we're growing. So it's pretty exciting. So I'm really happy to be here. I'll turn it over to Jeromi in case there's more that he wants to share about himself before we get into the details here.
So I'm, as I said, I'm also a graduate from UTA. I graduated about 11 years ago. My final semester at UTA, I was an intern here at UES at the time we were alpha testing. So I have actually worked through the internship program as an intern to a project manager for geotech to a CMT project manager to CMT engineer, the department engineer to the department manager down in San Antonio. And I moved back recently in the department engineer role. So I kind of started at the bottom and worked my way up pretty high, and then kind of took a little bit of a step back, come back home, and it's a great program, and looking forward to meeting some of you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeromi. And so if some of that sounded like another language to y'all, we're going to get into some details about what CMT is and what Geo and all of that here in just a minute. We're going to describe a little bit more about our company. So here you can see just a little bit of information about our company. So we are nationwide. So we have, I had some notes here. Yeah, we have about 85, a little over 85 locations now across the country. Within those 85 locations, we have about 60 or so accredited labs. And we have about 4,000 team members and growing. And I keep saying and growing. So the Texas region specifically is made up of 4 companies that have come together to make up the Texas region of UES. The 4th company was just just onboarded, just joined us in late fall. So that's really exciting. And I think we're up to Texas, about 10 or so, maybe 11 locations. Then as of just this morning, we had about 20 open positions across Texas, not including internships. And we're going to talk about those a little bit more in detail here shortly. But we're growing, and we're just so excited to be kind of new to the Texas region and new to kind of talking to students as well. So you can see here on the slide too, just a little bit about us. So we company-wide, really we're focusing on those environmental and earth sciences, infrastructure solutions, geophysical technologies. We're going to get into a little bit more specifics on what we do here in Texas in a minute. Jeromi's going to talk to you about that shortly. But I also wanted to call out on the slide here our values. So if you notice, if you're kind of paying attention there, they spell out strive. So this is really what we are striving for as UES. So we're really focused on the safety of our team members, working together as teams and our teamwork, responsiveness, and that's internal and external. So it's responsiveness to our customers, but also responsiveness to each other and our coworkers, integrity, value, and then excellence in all we do. So again, something that we're striving for. We've called our interns in the past strivers. And so we're excited to hopefully get some more UTA interns as we go forward. And so I will turn this over now to Jeromi, and he's going to give you just a little bit more information about the company and kind of what we all do.
All right. So, it's kind of a mouthful. There's a lot that we do here. Most of our segments are split up into a few large areas that further get defined as you go. Based on the information on the screen, we have residential, which is anywhere from your single family residential homes, your tract homes, your subdivisions, all the way through your multifamily, which could consist of apartment complexes, some assisted living. At that point, they're pretty similar, just a little different finishes, I guess you would say. Then we have commercial, which is basically everything you don't live in. If you go into a building, it's a commercial building. Then we've got institutional, which is going to be your hospitals, your schools, your universities. Municipal is anything that the government more or less controls. And those are probably the four pillars that we followed most closely here during my tenure here at Alpha, or UES now. Sorry, I'm going to get those backwards this whole time. The new and upcoming areas, data centers, renewable energy is getting really big. Manufacturing, Army Corps of Engineers, transportation, and then the petroleum, liquid natural gas, oil stuff. There's a lot that goes into that. Those are markets that we have that are coming up in the near future. If you want to go to the next one, Lisa. So we've got our three main focuses with UES is environmental, geotechnical, and material testing. There's a lot on this slide. If you needed to pause this thing to look at it, I'm not going to try to go through it just because it's going to be information overload. There's way more information than we can do. But the short version is that what we do here at UES is from the beginning of the project through the conceptual design phase, all the way through the construction of the process of the project and into some of the post-construction of the project. If something's going on, is something moving that's not supposed to move? Is something not moving that is supposed to move? We come back and we look at it from there. Lisa, if you'll go to the next one. This kind of walks us through the project life cycle. If you wanted to build something, the first thing you would have to do is decide, hey, what do I want to build? And from there, you have to decide where you want to build it. And that's where the environmental phase comes in. In the environmental phase, a very simple overview of what they do is they go back and look at what was previously there in this location. A good example is if you were going to build something that like a water tower, you're not going to want to put that on top of what was formerly a gas station. Just because you don't want the fuel potential of the carbons from the fuel making its way into the water and so on and so forth. Depending on what was built there in the past, there are government regulations on what can and can't be done with it in the future. And that's where environmental comes in. Recently, there's been a lot of stuff over asbestos abatement. Previously, there was lead paint abatement. Depending on how old you are, you may or may not remember the whole lead paint thing. And that's what our environmental department's looking for. From there, now you've got the object that you're wishing to build, the structure you're wishing to build. You've got an idea of where you want it. So now we go into the geotech phase. In that phase, we're going to do a site study. It's going to consist of, observations of people walking the site. There's going to be drilling for geotechnical purposes. What kind of soil do you have that you're going to build on? What are the strengths and weaknesses of that soil? Is it very strong? Is it very expansive? So there's going to be a study done over that. That's going to help you design your foundations. And that's probably the biggest portion of that is, it helps with foundation design and to select an appropriate foundation for the application. From there, we go into the construction materials testing, which is what I currently do and what I think is the most fun out of all three of them. I'm a little biased. And this is where we actually get to see it get built. This is where the big earth moving equipment shows up. They start digging holes. They start, carrying dirt and soil around. They start building the foundations with the concrete. Maybe they're drilling piers. And then from there it goes vertical. They put the paving down. This is where you actually get to see what's going on. And in some cases, this is actually one of the shorter portions of the project. The design phase sometimes takes longer than the construction does. And it's, in my opinion, it's just the most fun because you get to see. That's where it finally comes to fruition. You finally get to see the final product. So that's kind of a quick overview of the development life cycle of a project. Lisa, so I kind of went over some of this there in the last slide. So you've got your phase 1 and phase 2 ESAs during your environmental. Then you got your regulations, your asbestos. I forgot about the wetland services. Not something we generally deal with a lot up here, I don't think. So those are kind of a quick overview of the majority of what we look at in the environmental phase. So then geotech engineering. Honestly, it's where I started. It's fun. I like it. It's more office based. It's still pretty conceptual because they're not actually building anything yet. You're going to go out there and you're going to do the drill rigs. You've got, if you look at the top photo in this, that's a geotechnical drill rig. They're going to collect the samples, which is what you see on the bottom left. And from those samples, once they get to the lab, we will test them for their different properties so that we can figure out, one, how much movement can we expect in the soil at this site? And two, how strong is the soil? How heavy can this building be and still support itself with different foundation options? And then at the end of that, a geotechnical report goes out to the structural engineer and the design team to help finalize and formalize the final design recommendations. Lisa, if you don't mind, construction materials testing, hey, that's where all the fun is. I mean, that's where the concrete hits the ground. Once the geotech report's done and the engineers and the architects have finished their design, it comes to us in the materials testing world. And our main goal is to make sure that the product that is built is built according to the plans and specifications so that it will behave as it was designed to behave. And that in most cases that starts with earthwork because everything touches the ground. So we're going to do the earthwork. The guy in kind of the top left with the hard hat and the safety vest kneeling down, that's a nuclear density gauge. That's that magic little box you learn about in your soils class when they're teaching you how to do the sand cone. That they tell you that the school doesn't like to keep on site because of the radioactive source in it. But he's going to test for compaction and moisture for the soil. Once we get the soil in where it goes, there's some kind of a foundation. Sometimes it's piers, sometimes it's a shallow foundation, a slab foundation. And at that point, we start doing concrete testing. All of that stuff is made out of concrete. That's going to be the guys kind of over on the right with the wheelbarrow. Not all concrete is the same. It may look the same, but it does not behave the same. And that is a rabbit hole in and of itself, just chasing concrete. But we'll skip over all that stuff. We can answer more questions on that later if you have them. From there, the concrete on the bottom left, that's going to be a concrete brake machine. That's where we're going to determine how strong the concrete is. Is concrete strong enough to do the job it was intended to do? And here in North Texas, most of our parking and driveways and roads are concrete. Sometimes there's also an asphalt to those. We also test the asphalt. It's just not quite as common up here. Masonry, that's going to be your brick, your mortar, your retaining walls. That there's a lot that goes into masonry as well. Structural steel, most of your buildings are either going to be steel construction, wood construction, or masonry. So we do test all three of those. Non-destructive testing, that's probably a lot more than we want to get into. Depending on what you're testing and how much is going on, there's a lot that goes into that. Special inspections and the 311T out of Dallas, those are the requirements for testing. Depending on what you're testing and what the specifications are, they have different requirements. I promise a lot of this stuff is a lot more fun than I sometimes make it out to be. But it's, the CMT department is where you get to see stuff getting built. That's where the action happens. So, Lisa.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for that, Jeromi. So what he didn't talk about there is some kind of where you would fit in, right? Or where the careers part comes in. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about kind of our internship program and then some of our full-time jobs. So with our internships, we have them available across Texas. So like I mentioned earlier, we have so many locations across Texas. So I've mentioned kind of the locations here on the slide so you can see where the opportunities are. So no matter where you're from in Texas, we have that option. Some of you may be asking, yourselves, what about outside of Texas? So Jeromi and I are here mostly representing the Texas region, but our colleagues, throughout the country are hosting interns as well. And so I'll show you where you can find those positions later if you are interested. Our internships are full-time for the summer, approximately 10 weeks, and they are paid. So you're learning and making money. That's usually not a bad thing. And you're going to learn about the things that Jeromi talked about. So you're going to learn about geotechnical engineering. You're going to learn about construction materials testing, and we're going to give you some experience in the lab and in the field. Okay. And, like what he was talking about earlier. So there are people who work for us who are in field tech roles who go out into the field. They're usually collecting samples, bringing them back. And then there are lab techs who then go through all the tests and figure out kind of what they need to figure out. So you'll be getting to see both of those. You'll even be able to shadow some of our engineers and learn a little bit about what they do. We'll also have some professional development sessions where you'll have some connections with leaders, previous interns or maybe current interns as well. Unfortunately, we weren't able to bring a current intern with us today, but we'll be able to connect you with interns while you're there. And then you'll do an end of the summer presentation to some of our company leadership, talking about what you learned. And then how to apply. Really, all of these internships across Texas are already posted in Handshake. So I would just recommend that you apply ASAP. So we have started campus recruiting. So I'm the one that's mostly kind of going out to career fairs and that sort of thing. So I'll be at the engineering career fair that's coming up for y'all. I think it's the beginning of March. But aside from that, I'm already going to campuses and the positions are already posted. So I would encourage you to apply for the internships sooner rather than later, because we'll actually start reviewing those applications this month. So we may be reviewing those applications and doing interviews before the career fair even. So don't wait. If you're interested, reach out to us or just apply and we'll go from there. And then as far as full-time jobs, we have opportunities nationwide, like I mentioned. And so all of our Texas region internships are posted in Handshake. Okay. If you're looking outside of Texas for internships or for full-time jobs, this is the website that you want to go to. So it's teamues.com/careers. And there you're going to find everything. So like what Jeromi was talking about, as far as all those different kind of phases of our work, you'll find positions for environmental scientists, environmental engineers, geologists, geotechnical engineers, CMT department managers, project managers, field techs, lab techs, wide variety. In addition, just like any other large company, we have what you would think of as your typical kinds of corporate roles. So we have people who do accounting, people who do finance, IT, we have a little bit of that, but that's going to be more central to our Florida location, which is more of our like countrywide, nationwide, company-wide headquarters. Okay. But we have that. So in fact, we're working on a big ERP program as we speak. So you'll find all kinds of roles like that if you go to the Team US website. And I just invite you to check it out and see what all is there. Come and grow with us for sure. And then I think, yep, I put our contact information here so you can reach out to me directly if you have just general questions about talent acquisition, about how to apply, about the internships. I would be your main contact for the internships. And then if you want to reach out to Jeromi, if you're interested specifically in what he does and a little bit more on kind of the technical side of our business, he would be a great person to reach out to. So with that said, I can turn it back over to Julie and we can see what questions y'all have.
Right. Thank you so much, Lisa and Jeromi. So much information. I'm just amazed by the process of how, you see these buildings, you don't realize from the very beginning, the testing of the soil, the testing of the concrete, and just all the many facets that go into construction and what you do. So really fascinating. And I love that your internships expose students to so many different areas of that process. So really exciting. Well, I do have some questions. I'll start.
Julie, should I stop sharing or should I just leave this up?
We can, it's totally up to you. We do have your emails in the group chat. So students can also find that information there. So there we go. So if a student's applying for an internship, what's the best way that they can stand out during the application process?
That's a good question. So really, if you haven't done this yet, and I can't emphasize this enough, y'all, make sure you have your resume critiqued by someone. Probably the Career Management Center or the Career Center at Career Development Center. I'm trying to get the name right, at the Career Development Center. They will be able to look it over, make sure that it's consistent, make sure that it's error-free and that it's targeted to an extent, right? If you haven't worked before, if you don't have a lot of work experience or internship experience, that's okay. But maybe you have some projects that you can put on there that are related to the career that you're interested in or to the internship that you're applying for. So I think number one, what I'm looking at is your resume. That's all I really have to go on. So you need to make sure that it's polished and professional and ready to go. So for sure, that's number one, get your resume ready. And then I'm going to take it a step further too. So if your resume is great and I call you for an interview, because I'm mostly going to be the contact person. So you'll probably be hearing from me. So I'm the main university recruiter. So if I call you for an interview, and we schedule that in advance, which we likely would, when it's time for the interview, I'm going to expect that you've looked up our company, that you've done a little bit of research, and that you have some maybe intelligent questions about what we do, right? So what we want is people who are eager to learn about what we do, who are interested in the work that we do. And you show that by the research that you've done. You show that by the questions that you're asking, the enthusiasm that you show during the interview as well. Because the interview with me is going to be brief. It's going to go over a little bit about your resume and why are you interested in this position, right? And then I'm going to call Jeromi and I'm going to say, hey, I have some candidates for you. Here you go. And then Jeromi, what do you want to add to that?
I would agree. The kind of one of the things that drives me crazy are the simple errors on your resumes. I'm looking at this as more than likely our internships are people that are working on becoming engineers. You're going to be a professional staff upon graduation. Your the professionalism of your resume goes a long way. I would also agree with Lisa. It's frustrating to talk to somebody and the person interviewing for the position asks, so what does your company do? So a little bit of background on it. You go and look at it. You may not have a whole lot of information on how it works. That's fine. That's what we're here to teach you. But at least understand what it is or an idea of what it is that you could be doing. Another thing I'd like to know is there something specific in this that you really want to learn? You know, if you're very interested in learning concrete, maybe you're doing concrete canoe next semester. Tell me that. Let me know, hey, I'm really interested in this. If you really like dealing with soils, let me know, hey, I'm really interested in learning how soils work, how compaction works. I like the bulldozers. I like the backhoes. I like seeing that stuff. An overall kind of passion about what's going on. If I was a student too, I understand, you have bills you have to pay. You want to eat while you're out for summer. So there is a job aspect to it. But I'm looking for somebody who actually has an interest in pursuing this type of work, or at least learning more about it to help them with whatever direction they choose to go at the end of graduation. Because if you're in a civil engineering department or a civil engineering position, whether it's environmental or structural, what are the other ones? Geotechnical, obviously, or any others, your general civil, it's all being built on soil. We touch all of those projects depending on what you're doing and what you're building will determine how much we're involved in it. But even if you wanted to be a structural engineer, this can be an excellent place to go for the summer to learn how it's actually being built in the field. That way you're not that engineer everybody complains about that is designing stuff but doesn't have a clue what they're actually designing. You can say you've actually seen it and you understand the testing that goes behind it and the work that goes into constructing it.
And Jeromi, you bring up a really great point because an internship, it should be an experiential learning experience for the student. If they're not learning something or eager to learn something, then it's really not beneficial for them or for you. So I appreciate that input. And Lisa, I just had a follow-up question for you. You said targeted resumes. Could you please expand on that and tell our students what you mean by that?
Sure. That's a really good question. I think this is it's probably more geared towards a student, maybe some of the graduate students out there. So if you have a lot of experience doing lots of different things, okay, and you apply for my job, any job, internship or a full-time job, right? If it's not easily clear to me as the recruiter, when I read your resume, what your interest is, that's a problem. Because what that does is that causes, and for me or any recruiter, that's going to cause questions in my mind as far as, do they want this job? Well, they have a lot of experience in this other thing, right? So it's just making sure that as much as you can, the information on your resume points in the direction of the internship that you're actually applying for or the job that you're applying for, if that makes sense. So if you are
Sure.
a sophomore, right? If you're on the other flip side, right? If you're a sophomore student, freshman, sophomore, junior, and you don't have a lot of work experience, you don't have a lot of internships, you have some projects, you're not going to be able to target it as much, and that's fine. I don't want you to panic because you're like, I don't know how to target. I don't have anything. That's okay. This is probably more speaking to people who have more experience, who've done different things, maybe are changing careers, maybe a grad student who has maybe a different undergrad degree than their grad degree, because that happens as well. So just making sure that whatever you're putting on there is as much as you can show it related to the position that you're applying for. We get this many people applying for a job, right? I'm only going to talk to a portion of those people, and I'm doing that based on your resume. So if I see a resume that's kind of all over the place versus one that's really targeted towards, Jeremy mentioned civil engineering or construction science management, whatever it is, it's going to be easier for me to see you in the role, and you're going to be an easy person for me to reach out to versus somebody else where I have to kind of make a story up in my head and connect the dots myself. I need you to connect the dots for me. And that's going to get your foot in the door much faster. And I promise you that's the case for any company.
Thank you so much for that. That is very
Sure.
helpful advice for our students. Once say they get the interview, they get the internship, how can they make the most of their internships? How can they shine? Jeromi, the fact that you interned at UES and now you are full-time and you've worked your way through the company, how can a student aspire to do that?
I mean, I would say the best qualities that I can look for is somebody who's honest, um, who shows up when they say they're going to be there, who does the job to the best of their abilities. You're brand new at it. You probably don't have much, if any, experience doing it. But if you're trying, we can see that. And we will absolutely, myself and everybody else here, will absolutely bend over backwards to help you learn and understand what it is that you're missing or what it is that you're trying to learn and understand. That's why I say earlier, if there's something specifically that just really speaks to you and it's a real passion for you, point it out. Let me know. There's so much here that I can't show you everything in one summer anyway. But if you have something that you're specifically interested in, we can start down that road. And 10 and a half years in, I'm still learning stuff daily. So there's more than enough to keep you busy for a summer. But kind of the passion for learning it and what you're doing. And then beyond that, just how do you interact with people? Like I said, it's for the CMT purposes. It's in construction. You're going to deal with superintendents. You're going to deal with construction workers of various levels daily. If you can get out there and talk to people and they call in liking you or anything really helps. So that's kind of what I'm really looking for, and what I think would help the most is be dependable, show up where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, and show that you actually care about what you're doing.
Thank you for that. Along those lines, Lisa, when you're doing the interviewing, you're probably looking for those same characteristics: the passion, honest answers. Are there any other characteristics you look for in interns when you're interviewing?
That's a good question. I think we've touched on the big points there so far. It's that interest, right? So why did you initially, I'm almost always going to ask you, here's your tip. If you're watching this is your tip. What made you apply for this internship? what's got you interested in working for us? I'm going to ask you that for any job that you apply for with us, any internship that you apply for with us, any company that I work for. If I'm in a recruiting role, I'm asking you that question. And that's twofold, right? I'm looking for people who are curious and eager, like Jeremy mentioned, passion. You don't necessarily have to have a passion for UES because you don't know us yet, but it's what are you interested in? What sparked your interest when you read that job description? I'm going to know if you haven't read the job description or you haven't done any research, and it's not going to look good on you, right? So it's really what can you do to put your best foot forward? Do the work in advance, do that research in advance, as much as you can, to show that this is a place that you want to be. Yeah, and I do want to add one other thing before I forget as we go forward, because Jeremy mentioned being an intern and a lot about learning. So Jeremy is coordinating the internships for our Fort Worth office, and he's very excited about that. Thank you, Jeremy. And he is really interested in helping make sure that students get a good learning opportunity, get a good rotation through different parts of our business. And so I think if you're looking for a place where you really can learn and where people are going to want to teach you and be excited about you learning about their business, this is it. So I mentioned earlier, so just a little personal note here, I started with the company at the end of October, and I'm very new to this industry. So it's definitely a learning opportunity for me. And as a recruiter, I just by nature really do ask a lot of questions, and I want to know how things work, or why do you do that? And what does it look like in the field and all of that stuff. Everybody has been very warm and welcoming and very patient with my questions and really wanting to help me understand the business. So if you want a place that's really wanting to help you learn, I think you'll get a good experience here, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
that's oh, go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh no, I was gonna say absolutely agree.
Mhm.
I I love teaching. I just don't want to go back to school long enough to be able to teach. So it's you will learn something here, absolutely, without a doubt. And no matter what you do in the civil world, it will benefit you 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity. I know you have several positions posted in Handshake for various locations. About how many interns will you hire this summer for the program?
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you for asking that. So I think earlier when I was talking about the company as a whole, I talked about growth, that we're growing. My position was brand new, we're growing. So last year across Texas, we had a handful of interns, a little more than a handful of interns. This year across the Texas region, we're looking at about 30. So across Texas, it'll be about 30. So since we have so many locations, you'll likely only be interning with like maybe one or two or three other people in your location. But we'll be kind of trying to bring everybody together, at least virtually, for some professional development sessions and that sort of thing. But we're looking at about 30, at least Texas wide, and then even more if we bring that nationwide.
That's fantastic. So students, hear that, go apply.
Please
It was,
apply.
yeah, please apply. Once they apply, what's the best way to follow up with you or with the company? Any tips for students reaching out?
Yeah, if they're going to reach out, I mean, I would be the person to reach out to for sure. You'll find me all over Handshake. I'm the main contact for Texas region for all of our postings. You'll see my face out there. So you can always send me a message through Handshake. If you do that, I will make every effort to at least give you some kind of a response. As far as timing, really, I'll just kind of tell you now, ideally, what we would like to do is go through applications, start doing interviews, like I said, by the end of this month, and hopefully be able to decide on all the interns and have offers made in March. Like we want you to know and we want to know, right? Who's going to be with us. So timing wise, that'll be happening. So if you applied a week or 2 weeks or even a month ago at this point and you haven't heard back, that's okay. Don't panic. But I will be actively starting to go through those applications here shortly, and starting to kind of make those outreach decisions. So yeah, you can always reach out to me. You can ask me the status. I'll tell you what I can. Probably, I would say Handshake is definitely a way to reach out. You can send me an email as well. Just pick one. You don't have to message me on, you don't have to message me on LinkedIn, send me an email and reach out on Handshake. Just pick one. I'm pretty good at responding. So yeah, just decide kind of how you want to reach out and I'll do my best to reach back out to you.
Perfect. And we encourage our students sometimes, say the deadline's passed, or, maybe they're just a sophomore and they're not really ready to do an internship, or, we tell them to try to schedule an informational interview if possible. And it sounds like you're really interested in helping students learn or finding out what interests them. Is that something that you would recommend to students?
Sure, if they're interested. Yeah, for an informational interview, really for me, I can just tell you more kind of general things about the company. If you want to learn more about like HR and recruiting and all of that, of course, definitely reach out to me for an informational interview. And then Jeromi, if he would be open, are you open to students reaching out just to kind of chat and learn about our business?
Absolutely. I think my contact information's there. Email, LinkedIn. Shoot me a message. Add me on LinkedIn if you want to. Uh, be more than happy to answer any questions, because I look at this internship as a two-way road. You're here to help us a little, but I'm here to help you professionally, to help you learn what happens, and to introduce you into this career field. Um, if if you wanted to, we could even schedule a time for you to come by the office, and I'll walk you around and show you the office. Let you see some of the toys we get to play with. It's I'm more than happy to do that. So,
Well, thank you both so much for that, because, what you do is so specialized. I think there's just, and you're offering such great opportunities for the summer internship program. And is there anything else you want to add about the field lab technician intern position that you haven't already covered? You've been very thorough, but
I think let me say one thing too, because I know you mentioned at one point, Julie, about maybe someone as a sophomore, maybe they're not quite ready. We don't necessarily require that they are like a junior or a senior. Okay. So if there is someone out there who is a freshman or a sophomore and they're really thinking that the architecture, engineering, construction industry is going to be for them in some way, shape, or form, and they just want to learn, they can apply, of course. So part of why we're doing this, and UES is new in Texas, right? As a company, we want to get our name out there. We want students to learn about what we're all about and then go tell their friends, right? So if there is somebody who is really interested in what we do, regardless of their level in school, they can still apply and be considered for the internship.
that's fantastic to know. And yeah, thank you.
Sure.
I'm glad I said that.
and I
A
would
lot of
go with,
students think, they're going to wait till junior or senior year. So, to be able to have that opportunity early on in your undergraduate experience is fantastic.
and
Jeromi, go
I would
ahead.
even go a step further and say, please do come and talk to us when you're new into it. My undergraduates and graduates in civil engineering with an emphasis on environmental. I took the one soils class I had to take and finished it. I was like, okay, I never have to worry about this again. And spoiler alert, I was wrong. So yeah, come in, get in early. If you don't see everything you want to see this first year, there's always next summer. And then the summer after that. If you wait till your junior, senior year, you just really don't have that chance to look into these different areas and see more of it. You see a very small portion, and it's really all you get out of it before you have to go out into the real world and get full-time employment somewhere that you may or may not like.
Very true. And Jeromi, I just think your story is so interesting. And I know we were talking before the panel started. Just what year were you when you started your internship, and how did you hear about it? Because I don't know that handshake, were we using it back
No, I don't think so.
then? It was probably a different way. But if you don't mind just sharing a little bit about your internship
Absolutely.
experience.
So my last year, my senior year, I was an intern for Dr. Kruzik in the water quality lab, with him and Srini Prabhakar, I think. I was never any good at his last name. Because like I said, I went to school for environmental purposes. And then, I just needed a little more hours than they were able to do. So I got to looking at the I went by and talked to the lady that was in charge of the internship program, and I forget her name right now. If y'all know her, don't tell her I did that. Uh, and I talked to her, and this position here was open as a geotechnical intern. So I was like, sure, why not? I submitted a resume and applied for it, and the department manager here, who is still here, he called me and set up an interview, and I said, great, I'll do it. And then started calling all my friends to ask all the questions I could about soils, because like I said, I took one class, was done with it, didn't think I'd ever need it again, and very promptly forgot about it. So kind of got a crash course on soils, and came in, interviewed with Brian Hoyt. He's still our department manager. He's actually now our managing director of Fort Worth, I think. There's some weird title stuff going on, but he's in charge over here in Fort Worth. Worked through, that was more or less my last semester of school. Went in and talked to him in the middle of November and told him, like, hey, I see you're getting really busy. I'm about to graduate. What are the odds you're ready to hire someone? And he said yes, and said he would call and talk to our owners for me. About a week later, I was standing in the owner's office talking to them, and had a job offer and had a full-time job by Thanksgiving that year. I knew before Thanksgiving that provided I graduated, I had a job. So, and haven't looked back since.
And the rest is history. I mean, what an
history.
incredible success story, and very inspirational for our students. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And I know we're getting close to time. I don't think we have any student questions. I'm just going to double check in the chat. We don't. So is there anything else that I have not asked you, or anything else you'd like to share or bring up while we have a few minutes left?
I would say, even if we're not what you want to do, get an internship. Go talk to somebody. Try it out before you graduate. Maybe you find out it's not for you. Maybe you really enjoy it. Whether it's us or anyone else, go give it a shot. Have fun. Do something you enjoy doing. It makes going to work a lot easier in the morning.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, of course, we are obsessed with internships here at the Career Development Center, but I know, Lisa, you have worked in this field for a long time as a recruiter, and you've been in, I'm sure, had internships. Is there an experience you'd like to share?
I think what Jeromi said is right on. The internship is going to help you decide what you want to do, but also help you decide what you don't want to do. And I had that exact experience myself as a graduate student. I mentioned I was in the social work program. They assigned your first internship, and I had an internship doing something that turned out not to be a fit, and did it for the whole semester. It was very difficult, very emotionally draining. And I realized that just was not for me. But I wouldn't have known, never would have known, had I not done the internship. I would have thought, oh yeah, that could be interesting. Not for me. It was school social work, working with like younger students, like junior high students who were in an alternative middle school. I was a case manager. It was very difficult work, emotionally difficult work. But I wouldn't have known that had I not done the internship. And I value that experience very much. And I learned so much in that semester, wouldn't have traded it. So even if you get into something that turns out it's not the right fit for you, you're going to learn something from that as well. And just figure out what you can take from it. Hopefully that won't be the case if you join us. But either way, you're going to learn something, right? Our hiring managers all seem to be pretty committed to helping the interns learn, and they're all excited about this business, and they all understand that we need more people who want to get involved in this business. So they want to teach you. They're enthusiastic about teaching you what we do, bringing you on, helping you learn, getting you excited about it. So even if you come in thinking, not sure, it could end up being the best decision you ever made in your whole life.
Great advice. Yes. And I tell students a lot, just think outside the box. Like you say, who would have known that a soil class that you took would end up being a career for you? That's fantastic. I just want to thank you all so much today for being part of our employer spotlight. This has been such a great conversation. I've learned a lot. I know our students have as well. I'd like to just go ahead and I think the engineering fair that you said you were going to be, it's March 7th, I believe. So students be on the lookout for UES there. We definitely find out about the company in a little greater detail before you go do your elevator pitch and meet with Lisa and Jeromi. We always recommend that. Again, you'll find links to more information in our comments section, as well as contact information for Lisa and Jeromi. Please make sure that you visit that section of this recording, and we'll post the employer spotlight for viewing on the CDC LinkedIn page so that you can go back and look at. We'll also be on the Student Teams channel. Thanks again, Lisa and Jeromi, for being with us this afternoon. And students who are tuning in, I hope you're having a great spring semester and good luck as we finish out the spring. A lot going on, and you'll find that in the chat notes as well. There's a lot of events coming up. Next Tuesday, we have a resume review. As Lisa had recommended, have someone come look at your resume. That's a great opportunity. It's going to be here in the University Center Blue Bonnet Room. The times will be posted in the chat. So hope to see you all there, and thank you so much.
All right, thank you for having us.
All right,
you.
bye.